Welcome in, Broncos country, to the Broncos Breakdown by Chat Sports. We are live here on the channel. My name is Moose. Starting off with a DB4L, Michael Ronquillo. Bang! Starting it off. Let's go, brother. What a Friday it is. Good afternoon. Moose on the Broncos Breakdown by Chat Sports. Go, Bo Broncos. Shout out to you, Michael. You're an absolute legend, my friend. Thank you so much for the donation and supporting the channel. Greatly appreciated. That is a way to start off today's live show. You know what else is a way to start off today's live show? A quick little question for you guys. Here's the question I've got for you. What is more likely that the Broncos do this offseason? Do they go and make a trade, or do they make a big signing in free agency? You answer that question down in the live chat down below. Michael, by the way, I've got your name put on multiple times for our giveaway that we're going to do at the end of February, which we'll touch on here in just a second. But I'm going to give some shout-outs here right now with everybody coming in with their trades or big signing. What do you think is going to happen more likely? John Workman saying signing. Archie Blue saying sign George Pickens. What's up, Archie? Good to see you. We both need a trade and free agent from Mark Baker. What's up, Mark? Good to see you, buddy. Just Existing says tag and trade for George Pickens. I don't hate it. I don't hate it. I do not hate it whatsoever. What's going on with my... One second, everybody. I think I'm getting some interference here with my stream. Just give me a moment as it starts to load a little bit. I think you guys could still see me. There we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 1.5. 1 3/4. I can't see it yet. It's trying its very hardest. I finally got the whole Wi-Fi thing figured out. It's just now it seems to take a long time. It just takes there we go. I think we're back. A goat named Moose. Shout out to you, Quinn. Kenny saying nice tea. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. John Rick says Alec Pierce and Kenneth Walker. There we go. We're back. We're bike. We are bike. Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. It's just every so often my internet goes in and out. So we're back. We're good. I can see everything. We're all fine right now. Banch says get Kenneth Walker. So a lot of people thought he was going to stay in Seattle. I don't think that's the case anymore, but I think that the Broncos should go out and sign somebody other than Kenneth Walker. The more and more I see on Kenneth Walker, the more and more like he's really good at running the football. He's not really great in pass protection. He can't really catch the ball. He does one thing really well, and that's run. Now, we could use that, right? And it's an upgrade, but certainly not the complete back like a Breece Hall is. So I would go after Breece Hall. Sign Isaiah Likely from Jermaine. I would not mind Isaiah Likely on this team at all. I think he's excellent. Ron says, I'm a Broncos fan and my brother is a Raiders fan. We watched the draft together. I was disappointed with the Barron pick. I told him our defense is good enough to win a Super Bowl. We need to improve. Offensively speaking, that's what I'd be focusing on pretty much the entirety of this offseason is offense. Rico Dowdle and Waddle from Tracy Wheat. Shout out to you, Tracy. Thanks for joining us. Do me a favor. We got 70 people in the building right now. Let's get up to 35 likes before we get started while I tell you guys about our February giveaway. We're giving away a Broncos Breakdown hat that will look excellent on your head. If you want to get yourself a hat, but it goes beyond that. It's not just the hat that you have the opportunity to win. Obviously, there's really no major holidays outside of Valentine's Day in the month of February. But in March, you've got St. Patty's Day, boyo. So all you got to do is make sure that you get in a not only the Broncos Breakdown hat, but one of these sweet Denver Bronco Drinking Team t-shirts. Denver Drinking Team. If you want to support the channel, if you want to wear the very best and latest merch, this is going to be an exclusive offer. We're giving away a hat, and we are giving away a Denver Drinking Team t-shirt at the end of this month. Only $29.99 if you want to purchase. All you got to do is go to chatsports.com, which I'll have in the comments and description of today's live stream, and chatsports.com/Denver Green. Excuse me. And let me grab that link for you so that I could put it in the comments and description of today's video. Here you go. If you want to go take a look at it, boom shakalaka, I just put it in the live stream for you. 4 times. There you go. There you go. And by the way, if you do want to get in on all of the action today, there's a super chat menu that we've got. If you send in a $5 super chat, you're going to get 2 entries. If you send in a $10 super chat, you're going to get 4 entries. If you send in a 20, you get 8. And if you send in a $50 super chat or a 100, like my guy Michael did, he's going to get 40 entries. But if you send in a 50, you're going to get 20 entry. So this will stay up for the remainder of our stream. And once the stream ends, we'll close that off until next time. Today's show is going to be all for you. All for you. ESPN loses more credibility by the day, in my opinion, after their most recent report. Their most recent report lists a trade candidate for the Broncos that I'm just like, this is the dumb. You clearly don't watch the Broncos. The guy who wrote this article doesn't watch the Broncos because the guy that he listed that the Broncos would trade away is somebody we're not trading away. New running back targets for 2026 in the likely event that the Broncos move on from J.K. Dobbins. I've got some running back targets that we can explore on today's episode. And then, of course, we got a mailbag. So you got to get your hashtag Broncos or super chat down in the comment section. Preferably, if you want to skip the line, a super chat is the best way to get featured. But if you don't want to super chat, that's fine too. Just use hashtag Broncos to get your question answered. I've got new producer Parker on the 1s and 2s today. Everybody spam Parker down in the live chat down below. Let's get some Parkers going. We got a team of new guys here at Chat Sports. Parker started about a month ago, right around there. 6 weeks. 6 weeks ago, so about a month and a half ago. So Parker is brand new to the channel. I've got bad news for you all. You ready for the bad news? Parker is a Chiefs fan. Ugh! Gross. Everybody, welcome Parker and also boo Parker. He's a Chiefs fan. Terrible stuff. Absolutely terrible stuff. Unparker, is that what they... We are unparkering. Yeah, he is a Chiefs fan, but he is one of the up-and-comers here at Chat Sports, so he's going to do a good job. He's got no bias when it comes to getting the job done, but when the game is played and the lights are shining, he is not a Denver Broncos fan. In fact, he is quite adamant that he does not like the Denver Broncos.
Listen, hey, let him know that back in the day, I was a huge Peyton Manning fan.
He did say he was a big Peyton Manning fan, so... that at least helps a little bit. That helps a little bit.
He carried my fantasy team back in 2013.
Yeah, well, then that's when he played for the Denver Broncos. Did you guys see what... oh, by the way, I wasn't able to get to it, guys, but the Cowboys released Logan Wilson today just about 20 minutes ago before we started. So... I listed Logan Wilson as a free agent target or a cut or release target for the Denver Broncos. Now it actually feels a little bit more attainable now that he's actually been released by the Cowboys. And remember, they traded a 7th-round pick for him last year to the Cincinnati Bengals. So Logan Wilson is now a free agent, could sign with the Broncos in the event that we lose Alex Singleton or Justin Strnad or both. All right. Are you guys ready to get started on the show? Remember, you're not pushing the record button because that will end the live stream. So we're just all space bar at this point. I mean, it's the same as when you would do a normal like VOD. You see what I'm saying? Like you just push it through and then it'll come up black and then you put your previews and ties back on. You don't have to do the intro if you don't want. If it's too much, you can just push me forward and we could do that on the back half in Movavi if you want. You just have to give me a countdown when you push that forward. Like you could push it forward right now if you want. Because we're going to do the ESPN losing more credibility first, guys. Sorry. Little insider baseball here on the channel. Yeah, so what you do is... Yeah, that's fine. Can you make that Bronco head a little bit bigger? Remember how we did that? Wouldn't a requirement to work for a Broncos channel to be a Broncos fan? Yeah, you would think that's the case, but not everybody here at the office is a Broncos fan. You would think, wouldn't you? All right. Yeah, that looks good. Thank you. You can push that forward now if you want. So we're going to talk about ESPN flopping. They came out with a new report that is quite literally the worst I've seen all year. It sucks. And the more and more I'm starting to read ESPN, the more and more I'm actually getting frustrated with them because it's like, you're not watching the games. And I get it, you've got to cover all 32 teams, but you have specific reporters that are covering specific teams, and they clearly just completely swung and missed on this most recent report. So, fire anyone that's not a Broncos fan. Well, then we would have 2 employees here, Searle and myself for the Broncos fans of this group. So, Sam. So, yeah, so we'd have 3. We'd have 3 employees if we fired everybody that wasn't a Broncos fan. Okay. Are you ready? Ready. All right, give me a nice little countdown there, my friend. We're going to get started here, Broncos country. Make sure you hit that thumbs up icon if you just joined us. Let's talk about ESPN flopping.
3, 2, 1.
I cannot stand ESPN these days, and it's not just because of what you think the reason is. It has nothing to do with the political factor of anything. What I'm starting to get really frustrated is they're clearly not doing their homework when it comes to my Denver Broncos. Welcome in, Broncos country, to the Broncos Breakdown by Chat Sports. My name is Moose. Their most recent report that they just came out with, by the way, might be the worst take of all year for this team. Well, Moose, it's only February. Yeah, and this might be the worst take of 2026. I'm beginning to think that ESPN is just lazy. Like, they're supposed to cover all 32 teams, and I get that that's tough. But the guy that wrote this report, the guy that wrote this article for the Broncos, and I'll tell you what he's talking about coming up here in a little bit, is just beyond false. It's like the complete opposite of what's going to actually happen. And it's clear to me they're not watching the games. So ESPN released an article for what they call a change of scenery. Every single team gets a player that needs a new change of scenery. Now, whether that be in free agency, whether that be with the trade, this player is currently on your 53-man roster that needs to be on another team, is essentially what this article is saying. And the Broncos candidate literally makes no sense. So, before we get to who that candidate is, if you're losing faith in ESPN just like me, prove it. Hit that thumbs up icon. Double tap it. Actually, don't double tap it because that unlikes the video. So just tap it the one time and then hit subscribe if you want to join the ever-growing family of Broncos fans. We're at 57,130. So the player listed in this article for the Broncos that needs a change of scenery, they claim is Jonah Elliss. So they want the Broncos to trade Jonah Elliss. I'm going to let that marinate with you for a second. What the fuck are they talking about? Pardon my language. Here's what the actual article said. ESPN writes, this is not an issue of a player who is not properly developed. Instead, Elliss is a talented young pass rusher who doesn't have a path to start behind veterans Nick Bonito and Jonathan Cooper. You mean the best edge duo in the league? Oh, yeah, me too. Last season, Ellis had a 14.1% pass rush win rate and a 12.2% pressure rate. Both of those numbers were above average for edge rushers, but he only played 38% of the snaps in games for which he was active. Remember, he dealt with a little bit of an injury last year. It would be intriguing to see Ellis get a chance to start elsewhere in the league, perhaps alongside his brother Christian with the New England Patriots. This is comical. This is crazy. This is insane. Like, what are we doing? Do your homework. The Broncos love Jonah Elliss. They're not getting rid of him. They're not getting rid of him. And it's not just the fact that he fits the locker room so well. The numbers, the player is good. The player brings value to this team. Pass rush win rate of 14.1%. The pressure rate is 12.2%, only playing on 38% of the snaps. Yes, you saw that in that article. So let's do a little bit more homework. What do the other numbers tell you? He played in 13 games, had 28 tackles, 6 for loss, and 2.5 sacks. Okay. Was it the most egregious of numbers? Was he like the most main benefactor of this Broncos defense? No, of course not. But we've got the best pass rush in the entire league. You're not going to expect a player like Jonah Elliss to start over Nick Bonito or Jonathan Cooper or John Franklin Myers or Zach Allen. But he is a pivotal piece. He is a chess piece for this edge spot, this edge room. It's depth. It's depth. He's also a fantastic special teams player. I think we forget Jonah Elliss is a top 5 special teams player on the Broncos. Now, Devin Key is an all-pro. Quite literally was named the first team all-pro special teams. Q Robinson, who I think is going to have an unbelievable future with this team. He's a freak. Frank Crum, believe it or not, is a great special teams player. J.L. Skinner and then Jonah Elliss. All of these, by the way, excellent, excellent special teams grades. Now, I will play devil's advocate slightly here. Slightly. And I'll tell you why. I'm aware that the NFL is a business. The Broncos are a team in that business. Obviously, sometimes you have to make tough business decisions to move off of fan-favorite players. Look what happened with Devon Vele. But I will also go out and say Devon Vele's impact on this team was far less than anything that Jonah Elliss brings to the table. Because Jonah Elliss is a top 5 special teams player and a key piece in that edge room as a depth piece. Also, do you remember when ESPN, before the season started, told us that Dondre Tillman was going to get cut, that he wasn't going to make the 53-man roster? I do, because I made a video on it. I remember them saying Dondre Tillman most likely not going to make the 53. And I was like, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. They love Dondre Tillman, just like they love Jonah Elliss. So this report from ESPN is lunacy. It's bullshit. It's poppycock. It's Smeckledorf. It's not even a word, but you can agree with me, right? Shout out SpongeBob. If this is the worst report of the year so far from ESPN, let me know down in the comment section down below. If you're watching during our live show, make sure you get down in the live chat and give a yes or a no. I should see a bunch of yeses because to me, it's so rage baity that it's almost comical. Like, I'm not even that angry about it. It's almost whimsical to me. I laugh at this report. Now, something I'm not going to laugh at is coming up next. I do see 2 trade candidates on the Broncos. 2 players the Broncos could move off of that have significant trade value that we could get adequate draft compensation for. And I'm going to tell you who those are coming up here in just a little bit. Now, before I do that, I got to tell you about my friends over at Prize Picks. Shoot your shot on Prize Picks and get $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5. That's right, Prize Picks now gives you $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5 lineup. It makes every dunk, dime, and every board that much more exciting, especially if you're a Nuggets fan. So don't miss this chance to get started on America's #1 app for sports picks. It's super simple to play, guys. You pick more or less in your player stat projection. You get your picks right. You cash in. It takes 30 seconds to make a lineup. And by the way, speaking of that lineup, if you want to cash out early, they got a brand new feature that is early payouts, meaning if your lineup gets off to a hot start, you can cash out those winnings before the game even finishes. So do yourself a favor, download the app today. Takes 30 seconds to make a lineup look just like this. You pick your player, you pick the more or the less, watch your money multiply. Use code CLNS to get $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It is good to be right. Okay, so the trade candidates as I see them are Evan Ingram and Riley Moss. These are the only two players that I'd be willing to, at least right now, actually move off of. So if a GM called me up, if I'm George Paton, I'd be taking calls about these two players. Again, this is not a shot at Riley Moss, but as a starting outside caliber corner, we could get adequate compensation for him. Both players hold trade value, even Evan Ingram. So yes, I'd be willing to move off of these players. It wouldn't be my first preference to move off of Riley Moss. But let's start with Evan Ingram. If there is one player that I think could get traded before free agency starts, it'd probably be him. Now, the reason I say that is because if you designate him as a post-June 1st trade, or pre-June 1st trade, you save $8.8 million in cap savings. That'd be more, that's more than what you would get if you cut him. If you cut him, it's only 7.4. So you actually save about another $1.5 million if you trade him pre-June 1st. And there are plenty of teams that would be hungry for a tight end, which we'll touch on here in a second. But let's look over the numbers real quick. Again, I don't know how many times I have to tell you guys this. Like, Evan Ingram might have done really well in separation. He might have created a bunch of separation throughout the league, and as a tight end might have been top in that area, but he didn't have a role on Sean Payton's offense. Now, maybe that changes with Davis Webb, so maybe that's why you keep him, but at this point right now, from what we know, Evan Ingram is definitely a movable asset. And there are plenty of tight end hungry teams, like I told you. Washington is looking for tight end. Tennessee will be looking for a tight end after Chigakonkwo goes. The Patriots, but I would never trade with the Patriots because fuck them. And the Minnesota Vikings. They are probably going to be moving off of TJ Hawkinson in the near future, so they need another player that can kind of combo at that tight end spot. So if I decided to make a trade, if I'm George Paton, beep, boop, beep, beep, boop, calling up some GMs, brr, brr, I'm calling the Commanders GM, and I'm saying, hey, here's my trade offer. Evan Ingram, and you get Evan Ingram, we get a 5th-round pick this year. I think that's pretty fair. And if you're saying, wow, that feels low, does it? Evan Ingram's going to be 30 years old, He's a tight end who was coming off a bad year, only 1 touchdown. I feel like a 5th-round pick is pretty adequate compensation for him. So that would be my first trade idea there for Mr. Evan Ingram. Now let's move on to Riley Moss. This one I go back and forth with. I kind of waffle back and forth on Riley Moss. And the reason being is that Riley is a more than capable starter for this team. But ESPN is already listing him as a trade candidate and kind of like a trade piece for the Broncos. So unless they're as lazy with their trade ideas, which, by the way, this is not a great trade. I would not make this trade if I was George Paton. This is ESPN's trade idea. Unless they are knowing already something that Riley Moss is one of those players that is already being packaged for a deal, I'm only unloading him for a 3rd. Like, you have to give us back a 3rd-round pick, which is exactly where we drafted him, by the way. He's lived up to his draft status. Now, you could look at the numbers this last year, and remember, he started all 17 games, so he didn't get injured, which is great. But 19 PBUs is an incredible amount. I think that led the league, if I'm being quite honest. He does get picked on a lot, though, right? When you play alongside Pat Surtain, you're going to be picked on quite a bit. Nobody throws at Pat Surtain. So they're going to throw to the other guy. And elephant in the room, he's white. So, of course, they're going to pick on him as more than you would think, right? Like, let's just call a spade a spade. There's only 2 white corners in the league, guys, Riley and Coop. So I kind of look at Riley and I say, good starting caliber player, good starting caliber trade piece, but unless that number and that draft pick is not attached to a 3rd, I'm not giving him up. I'm not. So would you move on? Would you trade Evan Ingram or Riley Moss before free agency starts? T for trade or K for keep? I think I would trade for sure Evan Ingram. I don't know about Riley Moss yet. Like I said, everything depends on that package that is thrown together. That's all I got for you on today's episode. A reminder to hit that thumbs up icon. Subscribe to the channel. Both of those things are free. A mile-high salute to you, Broncos country. Be cool. Cool. Do, 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 do.
Chat menu.
Super chats. Is Evan Ingram 31 or is he 30? Am I crazy? Yeah, let's get some questions going. Get those hashtag Broncos in there. Why is Pro Football Reference taking so long today? I don't get it. It's so stupid. It's so dumb. I think Evan Ingram's 29. Am I crazy? Like, it's still taking its sweet time. No, he is 31. Shit. He is 31 years old. Yeah, that's okay. So I didn't know that. I thought he was 29 turning 30. Oh, he just turned. No, he didn't just turn it. Interesting. I was wrong. Okie doke. USA hockey is more fun. More fun than what? More fun than watching me? Go watch USA hockey. No one's stopping you. I find it kind of weird, though, that you have to come to my stream and tell us that that's more fun, but all right. The next episode that we're going to do here is going to be a new running back targets for 2026. We're going to kind of go over everything. We're going to go over free agency, the draft, and some trade candidates that the Broncos could explore for the running back position specifically. Sorry, I have to go. Oh, my God. Got to get the Broncos tumbler. Water just tastes better out of it. All right, cool. How's your Friday going, guys? Everything good? How's your Fridays going? John says, Moose, my son is a Steelers fan, but my son-in-law is a Bengals fan. And you are the best out there on Sports Talk. Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate that. Thank you so much for the kind words. I really do mean that. That's very high praise. Thank you. Trying to get better every day. Yeah, guys, we need more questions. Hashtag Broncos. Joey, I love it. Use hashtag Broncos on that. Hashtag Broncos and then ask your question. It's not. I don't think it's really up to. I think Breece is an unrestricted free agent. I think he can go anywhere. Thanks, Freak. Appreciate it. Freak Quinn. All right. Who do you want to say? There you go. Thank you, John. Thank you, Joey. Keep getting those in there. Yeah, they could franchise tag him, but the franchise tag number is really high. All right, you guys ready? Let's do this. Let's do this. All right, give me a nice little countdown here.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Tons of running back news on today's episode of the Broncos Breakdown by Chat Sports. Welcome in, Broncos Country. My name is Moose. The reason that we're talking about running backs today is because it is a definite position of need for the Broncos, no matter if they get one in free agency or the draft or in the trade market, and all three of those areas are going to be touched on today. And again, looking at the Broncos running back room, there's nothing wrong with it, right? There's nothing wrong with this. But we can reasonably assume that J.K. Dobbins is not going to get re-signed. He had a better year with the Chargers in 2024 than he did with the Broncos in 2025, statistically speaking, and the Chargers let him walk. Now, that doesn't mean the Broncos necessarily have to let him go, but all signs indicate that the Broncos are going to target another bigger-time name in whatever area they deem fit there for either free agency or the draft, like I said. Adding to the running back room is going to be crucial this year. It really will. That is one of the main areas the Broncos need to explore. Tight end, wide receiver, running back, and linebacker are all four very high priority positions of need. You know what else is high priority? Getting to 58,000 subscribers on the channel. My goal today is to get 35 on this episode alone. So if you love the nonstop content, if you are going to join us for the 2026 season, but for free agency, for the draft, and everything in between, you got to do me a favor, lock us in and hit that big free red subscribe button. Three areas the Broncos can add, not a wide receiver, a running back in. It's all running back centered today. You can add one in free agency, you can add one in the draft, and you can add one in a trade. So let's start with the most recent, and an upcoming event, which would be free agency. My top free agent targets at running back are, boom, right there. Breece Hall, New York Jets. Rico Dowdle, Carolina. Tyler Algier, Atlanta, and Kenneth Walker, Seattle. Now, we've all touched on Breece a little bit. We've talked a little bit about Rico. We've talked a little bit about Kenneth Walker. The one person and one player we haven't touched on nearly enough is Tyler Algier. And I kind of want to do a little bit of, my due diligence talking about Tyler Algier because he's not a name that's going to be uber sexy when it comes to free agency this year, but make no mistake, he adds a ton of value to whatever room that he's in. The reason he's an RB2, by the way, is because he sits behind the best running back in football, Bijan Robinson. But if we take a look at what Tyler Algier did last year behind the likes of a guy like Nick Chubb, who was another RB2, Tyler Algier was excellent. 143 carries, 514 yards, scored 8 times, averaged a little over 3.5 yards per carry, and a PFF grade of 71.5. Easily a very, very strong candidate for an RB 1B or RB2. He's probably one of the best twos in the league, in my opinion, that is. Here's another thing. He doesn't fumble, like ever. He is yet to fumble. He is the number one player in NFL history, my friends, history, to touch the ball 737 times and counting and not have a single fumble. And look who's number two. Former Bronco Phillip Lindsay. So if that just goes to show you what kind of player Tyler Algier is, he's ultimate safety blanket. He will fight for that extra yard. He's a between the tackles back. He is that bell cow style. He can get it done. So your potential running back room could actually look like this. You could have Tyler Algier as your kind of bell cow, RJ Harvey as your Joker type mold, and you could keep Jaleel McLaughlin. Now, is this, like I said, the biggest sexy name that you would go out and get? No, probably not, but I would expect if you did sign Tyler Algier that you would probably draft one as well. He's not just a player that only is an RB2, by the way. He has a season of being an RB1. His rookie year, when he was with the Falcons, he actually was the RB1 because this was the year before Bijan. 210 attempts, 1,000 yards, 3 touchdowns, almost 5 yards a carry, and he finished 5th in Offensive Rookie of the Year voting. So all of these things indicate to me that this is an under-the-radar signing, somebody that's like a B or a B-plus signing. Again, it's not the name like Breece Hall. It's not the name like Rico Dowdle. It's not the name like Kenneth Walker. But what it is reliability, it's comfort, and if the Broncos don't want to break the bank when it comes to paying a running back top dollar, you wouldn't have to. This is a guy that's only projected to get $6 million a year. 3 years, $18 million. Sounds good to me. Make it done. Make it done. Again, unless you want to throw money at the running back position. If George Paton says we're willing to spend top dollar on our cap budget on a free agent running back, then go get Breece Hall. I'm still very much on the Breece hype train. But in the event that he's like, well, it's running back, we're probably not interested in paying the premium. We just want something reliable. There you go. This is like the Honda Civic of free agent running backs right here. Reliable, cheap, gets you from point A to point B. Now let's talk about the second place that you can add a running back, and that's the trade market. We'll touch on the draft here at the very back end of this episode, but the trade market is a very underutilized, in my opinion, because most teams want draft capital attached to a trade, and for the most part, they're right. But you don't see nearly as many trades in this area as you would like. Now, before we do that, I have to tell you guys about an amazing deal that we've got going on right now. St. Patty's Day merch. If you want to sport the very best Denver Broncos gear from the Broncos Breakdown, we've got an amazing deal for you right now. This Denver Drinking Team t-shirt is here for an exclusive time. Limited time only. You got to go to chatsports.com/Denver Green or use the link that I've put in the comments and description of today's video. If you want to sport the gear that I'm wearing on St. Patty's Day, do it, like I said, with this link, chatsports.com/Denver Green. Again, in the comments and description of today's video. Okay, so moving on back to the trade market, and that trade market lists one new name in the Broncos search for a running back, I guess you could call it. David Montgomery has been floating around as a trade target pretty recently, and believe it or not, a Sports Illustrated article kind of listed a direct trade between David Montgomery and the Denver Broncos. And if you're wondering, well, why would they trade for him? Because the Lions GM specifically said it. Here's what he said about David Montgomery. Those are conversations that we're going to have because I've got a lot of respect for that player. He deserves to be in a situation where his skill set can be utilized. And so, yeah, I would love for him to be here. But if it can't be here, then you would want to just see what you can get and work out the best deal for him. So in this article, written by Sports Illustrated, the hypothetical trade is as follows. The Broncos received David Montgomery for a 2026 third-round pick. Now, I think that's a little too steep. I would not pay a third-round pick for David Montgomery at this point in his career. I would give up a fourth, the one that we got for the Devon Vele trade from New Orleans. So we still keep our fourth-round pick, but I'd be willing to part ways with that specific draft pick. And the reason being is because David Montgomery is not the same spring chicken that he once was. You know, he's had a couple of injuries the last couple of years. He's slowed down a little bit. He's clearly now the backup option to Jahmyr Gibbs, who has taken over that RB1 spot, but still a very, very solid between the tackles runner and would step in immediately as the RB1. He's a hell of a player. He's a hell of a player. He could still find the end zone. He could still give you well over 700 yards. And if the Broncos, like I said, want to move on from J.K. Dobbins, this would be a very, very good replacement for him. Somebody that can kind of offer you similar aspects of that game in field vision, in patience, in just being able to find the hole and exploit it, and also lower his shoulder and truck forward for the extra yard. So, would you trade for David Montgomery? Yes or no? For me, I think the answer is pretty clear. I would, but only if we're giving up like a fourth. I wouldn't give up a third for David Montgomery. That feels a little bit too steep. Either way, let me know in the comment section down below. Okay, final. The 2026 NFL Draft. Now, this is where I think you're going to get your most bang for your buck, right? So, free agent market, you're going to have to pay a premium. The trade market, you'd have to give up compensation, draft compensation. This is where you hit your home run. This is where you swing for the fences. This is like a double. This is like a single. This is a home run right here. But here's what I would do. I would draft a running back on day 3. I don't know that I would mess around with drafting a running back in the first round or even the second round. I feel like you'd want to target linebacker in the first round or second round. I feel like you want to target wide receiver in the first round or second round. Running back's one of those positions you can find talent in the 7th round. So if we're going to look at day 2 or day 3 running backs, here are some players that we could explore. Emmett Johnson from the University of Nebraska, Nicholas Singleton from Penn State, and Kaytron Allen from Penn State. Now, notably, Emmett Johnson's probably the most talented out of all these guys. Singleton is the biggest home run hitter, and Kaytron Allen fits exactly what the Broncos need, which is, again, the hammer. They actually call this guy the hammer in his NFL scouting combine profile. They say he is a physical hammer-style runner, like ultimate strength back. And this last year at Penn State was excellent. 1,300 yards rushing, 6.2 yards per carry, had 18 receptions for 68 yards. So he's not a home run hitter when it comes to his receiving game, but you have R.J. Harvey for that. And he had 15 total touchdowns. So Kaytron Allen is one of those players that you can get in the 3rd or the 4th round. And welcome to Mile High, my friend. Why don't you suit up for us? And we have plenty of draft picks. That's not the problem. We got 9 draft picks. We got the 30th pick, 62, 94. We got a couple of comp picks in the 7th round for Javonte Williams and Riley Dixon. So I'm really excited to see where the Broncos go and what their draft strategy is this year. Because last year it felt very defensive driven, right? You had Jahdae Barron in the 1st round, then you went Savion Jones and Q Robinson. So all of these picks, I'm interested to see if the Broncos make the flip to the offensive side of the ball, which, in my opinion, they should do. That's all I got for you on this episode. The road to 58,000 is still on track. 35 subs on this episode is our goal. So make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that thumbs up icon, lock us in. As always, Broncos country, Mile High salute. Be cool. Cool. Trade a 1st-round pick and draft Kenyon Sadiq. Yeah, you guys keep saying that. What's up, Honey Bear? White Knight says you lost a sub because you ignored me for 20 minutes. That's too bad. Danny, I don't disagree with you, my friend. I don't disagree with you.
Danny and Joey are pretty much the only ones with comments right now.
Yeah, that's not good enough, guys. We need more hashtag Broncos. Hashtag Broncos. I'm going to call out some people. Honey Bear, can you get a hashtag Broncos question in? Quinn Ellison, I need you to do one. Use hashtag Broncos. Steve, I could use one from you, my friend. Hubert, I could use one from you. Yeah, you got to put hashtag Broncos. Hashtag Broncos. How many people do we actually have?
Well,
how many questions from actual?
We can still use White Knight's question. Okay, there we go. We got one from Quinn, one from.
If we've got 5 or 6 people, we're good.
We got 1, 2, 3, 4 right now.
Yeah, we need more than 4. We need more than 4. If you want to be featured on an episode, you got to get your questions in. Hashtag Broncos, man.
There we go. We got John now. We got 5 now.
5 people. Keith, I could use one from you, my friend. Breaking NFL news today. Logan Wilson has, there you go, Honey Bear, appreciate it, man. Logan Wilson has been released by the Dallas Cowboys. All right, we should have enough. If we've got 5, we should be good. We can double up on a couple of them, but just not back to back, right? We don't ever want to go back to back on those. And remember, we have that social as well. All right. No, don't make that at the very end. You want to make that like halfway through. Yeah. Yes, correct. Thank you, Quinn Ellison. Appreciate it. All right, are we ready? Let's do this. Put that little thing on the name badge. That's the word. Ooh, Danny, that's a good question. That's a really good question. It's Vaughn, though. Sorry, I'm going to answer that right now. It's Vaughn. Von Miller for sure. Steve McBride, why are you getting so angry, man? Y'all capping. Why are you getting so, like, bent out of shape? Everybody can have their own opinions, man. And we definitely do need a wide receiver. I agree with you. But we also need a running back, and we also need a linebacker. All righty. Push me through.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
It's Broncos mailbag. Welcome in, Broncos country, to the Broncos Breakdown by Chat Sports. Real questions from Broncos fans to another real Broncos fan right here on the channel. Now we're at this point in February where we've kind of hit that like valley. You know, there's not a lot of news going on right now, which sucks. We're still about 2 weeks away at the time of this recording from free agency, and we just need something, a little bit of juice, just a little bit of juice to get us through these next couple of weeks. So here's my juice question of the day. What year did you start rooting for the Broncos? Think back to when you were a kid. Think back to when you started watching football. When did you become a Denver Broncos fan? Let me know down in the comment section down below. Or if you're watching during our live show, let me know in the live chat what year you became a Broncos fan. Let's start the questions with our guy, Danny Caudle. Does Alvin Kamara still have something in the tank for us to explore? It's an excellent question. The reason that is a great question is because there's been a lot of articles that have linked Alvin Kamara. Here's the problem. Alvin Kamara is an older version of R.J. Harvey. Can we all agree on that? They play the exact same style. They're like a scat back. They're really good in that Joker mold. And Sean Payton loves Alvin Kamara. I know he loves Alvin Kamara. I just don't think he's as powerful enough as a runner at this point. And Alvin Kamara also said he doesn't want to play for any other organization outside of New Orleans. He said he would retire before he goes and plays anywhere else. Now, again, do we take that at face value? No, probably not. But I still don't think that out of all the free agents that you could explore out there, I think he's lower on the list of guys that we need. It's a bigger name, but also he's a lot older, and I just don't think it's feasible at this point. But thanks for your question. Joey, what do you think our odds are of landing Breece Hall? Now we're getting on to some good stuff here. Odds, let's go with percentage. 100% meaning he'll 100% be on the Broncos. It's guaranteed. 0% being it'll never happen. I would say you're at about a 45% right now. You're very close to 50-50. I am sure that Breece Hall's agent has been on the phone with George Payton. I'm sure that Sean Payton has tried to get in contact with Breece Hall, and they're making a pitch for him. It would be ridiculous to not do your due diligence with a player like Breece Hall, who has said multiple times, I want to leave the New York Jets. Everybody wants to leave the Jets. It's the Jets. They suck. So I think it's probably at this point close to 50-50. I would love to say 70-30 at some point, but until I know more, until there's like a report that comes out, I can only give you what I think, and that's right about 45% at this point. John, I really want to know your top picks for running back, tight end, and wide receiver. For running back, my top pick is Jadarian Price from Notre Dame. My top wide receiver is Denzel Boston from the University of Washington. And then Kenyon Sadiq is obviously the top tight end in this draft class that I would go out and get. But if you're talking about free agency, I would say Breece Hall for running back. Wide receiver would be George Pickens. And tight end would be combo between Dallas Goedert and Isaiah Likely. Quinn Ellison. Trade up for whatever it takes to get George Pickens and pick up Kenneth Walker and draft Kenyon Sadiq. And that is a lot, my friend. You're not going to get all three of those players. You're just not. One of those things could definitely happen. You could definitely trade to get George Pickens. You could definitely sign Kenneth Walker. And you definitely could move up to draft Kenyon Sadiq because he's definitely going to go before 30. So you could have one of these things. 2 is wishful thinking. 3 is pretty much impossible. There's no way you get all 3 of them. But I like your optimism there alongside your guesses. Welcome back, Cardi B fan. I heard Jarrett Stidham could be traded. Is this true? I don't know where you're hearing that. I haven't heard this at all. And I don't want to say that I'm the most connected with the team, but I have not heard a single whisper of the Broncos looking to get rid of Jarrett Stidham. So, no, I haven't heard that in the slightest. And nor do I think the Broncos want to trade Jarrett Stidham either. I certainly don't. He's a great backup. Backup quarterbacks now are more of a commodity than they've ever been. You need a good backup quarterback. But let's rewind the tape a little bit. Let's rewind the clock for a sec. Let's go back to the AFC Championship game. Jarrett Stidham outplayed Drake May. Let's be so for real about this. Now, he might have made more mistakes than Drake May. There's no doubt about that. But he definitely outplayed him. Had more completions, had more passing yards, more touchdowns, better passer rating. So you're outplaying a guy, and granted this was in a snow globe, but you outplayed the MVP. I say that, tongue in cheek. Take that as a joke, but I would not trade Stidham. He's a very good backup, and unless somebody offered me like a second or a third round pick, I would not move on from Stidham. No shot. No shot in hell. And if you did, hypothetically, if you did trade Jarrett Stidham, I would probably go out and re-sign Zach Wilson and bring him back to Denver. But that's just my 2 cents on it. I would not trade Jarrett Stidham. Would you trade Stidham? Yes or no? Let me know in the comment section down below. Like I told you, not unless the compensation is so good that I feel the need to do so. But we're going to continue on with your questions. These are all very good questions, by the way. But before we do that, I have to tell you about today's presenting sponsor, and that is our friends over at Prize Picks. Shoot your shot with our friends over at Prize Picks. Why? Because it is the very best place to get in on all the real money sports action. You get $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5. That's right, Prize Picks now gives you $50 in lineups when you sign up and play your first $5. Prize Picks makes every dunk, every dime, every board that much more exciting, so don't miss the chance to get started on America's #1 app for sports pick, especially if you're a Nuggets fan. They got a brand new feature alert, by the way. They have early payouts, meaning if your lineup gets off to a hot start, you now have the option to cash out all of those winnings. Do yourself a favor. When you download the app, it takes 30 seconds to make a lineup. Just download it. Pick the player, the more they're less on their stat projections, and watch your money multiply. That easy. Download the app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups when you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It is good to be right. All of that in the comments and description of today's video. Back to Joey. I think if we let Powers go, grabbing Bitonio in free agency, then any upgrade to our running back will work. I actually don't mind this at all. In the event that we let Ben Powers go, which, by the way, is like it's like $12.4 million in cap savings, somewhere around there. Maybe it's higher than that. Maybe it's 12.7 or 12.8. Bitonio is a 6-time Pro Bowler. So he would be an immediate upgrade. Now, he's a little bit older, so it would be a more short-term deal. But remember, the Broncos Super Bowl window just opened. So it is okay to spend on one-year guys. And Bitonio is a 6-time Pro Bowl left guard. Any upgrade to our running back room is also encouraged. Rico Dowdle, Tyler Algier, Kenneth Walker, or Breece Hall, of course. Honey Bear, if we are able to bring in Pitts, do we still need to go get a number 1 wide receiver? Yeah. I don't want Kyle Pitts. He's too much of a roller coaster. And this last year, although the numbers kind of look okay and they look, glossy, Kyle Pitts didn't really start playing great until the very end of the season. His last 5 games of the year were awesome. But from the start of the year to week 13 or whatever it was like this. Just a massive roller coaster. There were games where it would be 8 receptions for 75 yards and a touchdown. And then another game would be 2 receptions for 18 yards. And that was it. So Kyle Pitts is one of those players that, if we got him, I wouldn't be upset. But I also know from experience, trust me, he's not my number 1 target. Freak Quinn. Let me freak. Shout out Lil Dicky, a.k.a. the independent variable. What's up with Von Miller? You think he'll come back? It's been a lot of speculation. That's all I'll say. I may or may not know a little news nugget, just a little one. And I'm not going to share it because I promised the person that told me this that I wouldn't. There may or may not be a whisper amongst the Broncos players in that locker room that Von Miller is very, very intrigued about coming back. But it has to come down to role and price, of course. White Knight, the guy who threatened to to leave because we ignored his question, which we really didn't there, Parker. But either way, who do you think the most exciting prospect from free agency is for the Broncos? I think Breece makes the most Super Bowl favorites. Yeah, probably Breece or George Pickens. Trying to think of anybody else that would be a big splash for us. I mean, hypothetically, you lose John Franklin Myers, you could sign Trey Hendrickson, but I'm just saying you don't need it, but that would be huge. If you lost JFM and replaced him with Trey Hendrickson, that's a team that gets 80 sacks. That would be insane. That's all I'm saying. Maybe I'll make a video on it. You know what? Do me a favor. If you're watching in the live chat or in this video, let me know. Do you want me to make a Trey Hendrickson video? Just let me know. Back to Quinn Ellison, and then we'll do one more after him, and then we'll take off. Do you think Caleb Lohner will be ready? Yeah, I think he'll make the 53 next year. Now, does that mean that he's going to be a big-time cog in the offense? Is he going to be a chess piece to move around? Probably not. But I do think he makes the 53 next year. He could be a red zone threat. That's what I would bring him in for. He's clearly going to be a project, guys, not a prospect. This is exactly why we drafted him in the 7th. This is going to take time. Danny, real talk. Last one. If we would have beat the Pats, what's Moose's Super Bowl score prediction? Without Bo. With and without Bo. Okay. With Bo, Broncos win 23-20. They win the Super Bowl. Without Bo, Broncos lose 27-17. That feels right. I mean, let's be honest, I don't think Stidham was beating the Seahawks defense, guys. I think we can all agree on that, right? I don't think Stidham was going to beat, but I do think he could have gone to the Super Bowl. I don't think he would have won that game. All right, that's all I got for you on today's episode. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Remember, we're not done yet completely, so just bring me back up there on the left-hand side. That's all I got for you on today's show. Reminder, Broncos country, a mile-high salute. Be cool. Sweet. Yeah, but Danny, I think we would have won with Bo. I don't think we would have won with Stiddy. Ian, I actually did a little bit of here. If you want, can you bring up that player 3 rank of those running backs for me? Ian, I just did a video that one. I did a cut where I said, here's some day 2 draft targets and day 3 draft targets for the Broncos. Take a look. Emmett Johnson is a home run hitter. The guy's unbelievable. He's a ridiculous talent. And I think there's a legitimate chance this guy goes early in the second round. All right. That should be all we got today, my friends. Should be all we got today. Okay, that's it. Guys, thank you so much for joining me today. 79 of you. We had 87 likes. We made $100. Thank you, Michael, for the $100 super chat donation. That's excellent. As always, Broncos country, a mile high salute. I will see you guys next week. Be cool.